You can't take it with you when you're gone, so how do you make the most of it while you are here? It's time for Your Money Matters with Sam and Dieter from Harness Financial.
And just before we go any further, don't forget the disclaimer, Sam.
Yes, this is not personalised advice. This is general chat around financial advice matters.
All right, term deposits, take it away, Dieter. Or is it Dieter or Sam? Who is it?
Sam will do a bit of
An intro? Yeah, so we want to talk about the terminal nature of term deposits, the hidden nature of playing it safe, why term deposits are possibly quietly destroying your wealth. Picture this, you've put $1 million into term deposits. 10 years later, the balance says almost 1.2 million. You think you've won, you think you've done well, but really, you should feel ill because in today's dollars, that million can now only buy what $937,000 could have bought you a decade ago. You just lost $63,000 of real wealth while your bank statements were smiling back at you. Today, we're going to talk about, using real numbers, why term deposits, the thing that most Kiwis call safe, are actually one of the riskiest places to have serious money in for the long term. The enemy isn't the bank going bust. The enemy is inflation and taxes working together in plain sight to erode your wealth.
All right.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
it's one of those interesting things I've experienced as moving to New Zealand is there's these focus to property and term deposits. And term deposits is one of those things that looks safe, but it's the opposite of what you think it is. Because your biggest risk long-term in the ability to afford to live is inflation eroding your purchasing power. So if you're going to put money in a term deposit for a long time, you're basically giving away purchasing power. You feel safe, but when you have to then go and pay for the higher cost of living, you just don't have the same money.
All right, then, let's look at what have you got here, the example, $1 million in a 10-year kind of plan. So give us the numbers on that.
So if you put that $1 million, as Sam was saying, if you put that in term deposits over 10 years, you take off inflation and tax, you've gone from $1 million to $937,000 in real value. At that same time, if you just put that in a well-managed, standard, nothing fancy, not all crypto or that nature, just a normal growth fund, you'd have about 1.8 million in real value today. So you'd have double the amount of money today that you would have had for term deposits. And yes, in that time, you would have seen market volatility. We had the COVID, all that sort of stuff happen. But you'd still have more money today than you'd have in term deposits. If you understand purchasing power rather than just the number on a screen. So, and I think this is the issue, is playing it safe is often playing it dangerous.
Term deposits are a really good way to retire your money. And just because you've retired doesn't mean your money needs to retire.
All right, and the other thing, just conceptually I'm thinking about here, money isn't the investment, really, is it? The investment is where that money goes, what economic activity, business or asset it is applied to. And a term deposit, in my mind, is just the money sitting there doing the magic thing that money does all on its own. And of course, that's not true, is it?
No, I think you've got a really good point. Money was traditionally a store of wealth. But if you have a system, which we have in the modern economic environment, where every dollar that you have in the bank, if the government's increasing the number of dollars in the economy, is actually eroding the amount of money you have in the bank. And talking about an investment, it's an investment for the bank. Yes, they'll take your money and they will use it to make more money.
All right, let's work through it. So $1 million invested, rolling 1 year BNZ style term deposit from 2015 to 2025, 33% tax on interest in this country. And we look at the actual CPI inflation. So in years 1 to 5, if you'd invested this $1 million, what happens? What happens to your money, to your term deposit?
So it looks good, but actually what has happened at that time is you've been given a bit of interest.
Yep.
You've paid tax on that interest, and inflation has eroded the rest of the money.
Okay.
So at best case scenario, you will stay level over that period.
Yep.
But the reality is a 5-year period, you're probably worse off. And again, time horizon is the most important determinant. So term deposit has a role for short-term needs, for cash reserve, but if you're putting it in there, you basically, it's sort of in a way looking at it like a wasting disease. So you put it there and basically the body atrophies and you have less body.
So that's what would have happened 2015 to 2020. You get about 45k in purchasing power and you feel safe and your money's there and it hasn't burnt off or anything. Now, if on that scenario, year 6 to 7 are the COVID years, aren't they? And what happens to your money in your term deposit during COVID?
Yeah, well, at that stage, I think we reached a peak inflation rate of about 7.8?
Yeah.
So now you think, the bank rates are really attractive, but actually the inflation rate is very, very high. And that inflation rate
and
is
that's
not actually
outstripping the earning potential of your money as a term deposit, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. And there's always a correlation between the interest rates the bank will give you, the Central Reserve Bank rate, and inflation.
Yep.
So they're always going to kind of line up with each other. So if the term deposit rates are high, generally inflation is high.
Okay. Year 8 to 9, 2022 to 2023. What's happening to my $1 million then?
Well, we saw the quantitative easing, the money handed out from the magic ATM at the bottom of the beehive. And basically, for every dollar that was in circulation, there's now more dollars. And it's just purely a case of dollars versus goods and services. So if you've increased the number of dollars but not the amount of goods and services, you've diluted every dollar.
Okay, so what's your $1 million that you put away in 2015 worth in those by the end of 2023?
Well, at that stage, you're probably sitting about 1.12 million. But in real value, you're probably sitting back at about the $1 million mark, less than $1 million.
So you've made nothing?
You've made nothing.
Jeez,
but you feel good because you log in and you go, look, it's really safe. The number looks static. But there's a difference between what it looks like and the value
what it's worth
of it.
and what the money's worth. Okay, and by year 10, under that scenario, this year, you've put $1 million away in 2015. And what's happening with your money this year?
So it looks on the face of it, it's sitting there at the 1.18 million mark.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, great, I've really done well. But the actual buying power of that money is $937,000. So you've lost $67,000 over 10 years in real value.
And it's gone.
It's gone. Jeez. But your cost of living hasn't gone.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people who always use term deposit as a retirement plan.
Yeah.
Interest rates go up, they can live a little bit. Interest rates go down, and they're suddenly cutting back the electricity and lifestyle. And the actual quality of life is linked to whatever inflation and the interest rates are doing, not on what the money should actually be doing for them.
Yeah. This makes no sense at all in a term deposit, does it?
No.
Even I can see that.
Not over a really long period of time, and not with all your eggs in one terminal deposit basket. I've always found it fascinating. There is a generation of New Zealanders that older generation that use the term investment.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that skews things quite a bit too.
Because it's really just a term deposit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Someone says any benefit, and I've got no idea what they talk about, to term deposit laddering.
Okay, so basically that's splitting your term deposits into different components and rolling over different periods.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it sort of operates the same as having different portions in your mortgage. So you're not impacted by the increase or decrease in rates over time.
Yeah.
But your overall rate you're going to get is still going to not generate you wealth.
Yeah. Okay, morning, guys. I'm changing my term deposit because of what you were saying. Seek advice before you do that. We're just going to say, is KiwiSaver a safe bet to put it into?
So depending on age, if your KiwiSaver is accessible, it's essentially just a managed fund.
Yeah.
So forget KiwiSaver, non-KiwiSaver managed funds. They're all just structures that invest in different equities and bonds and things of that nature. So if you're under 50, if you're under 65, the risk of putting that money in your KiwiSaver is if you need it, you can't get it.
Mm.
So you can have the same structure without the KiwiSaver locks on it, with all the same benefits, including the fact that you can do a joint account. So from an estate planning perspective, if you're a couple, why would you put everything in one person's name, which will complicate estate planning? Do a joint account.
KiwiSaver is just a brand name.
Yeah,
a label.
Okay, yeah. Sean, return deposits, is there a place for them, say, 3 to 6 months, a short-term deposit, during low inflation while you work out if you're buying a rental or putting it into a longer-term managed fund? I just not leave it sitting in a regular bank account while you prep for the next investment.
That has got its place.
Yep.
Again, what I've done a few times, if you work out the interest you will earn, it's very, very minimal. So there's a couple of savings account options out there that pay 2.5% without any lock. So yes, it can have that point, but if the opportunity came up for a property and that money was in a 6-month term deposit, you'd have to break it, and you'd end up losing that interest.
Okay. Is there a way, and those figures are just stunning to me, is there a way if you come in the right part of an economic cycle that a term deposit does work, or do you have to be incredibly lucky?
No. Again, if it's a long-term horizon,
Yep.
the rates might look good, but that's because the inflation is also high.
Yeah.
So it's always a cat and mouse game between inflation and interest rates.
Yeah. Francis says, I put $5,000 in a term deposit for 6 months and I earned $85. Ugh. What should I do instead?
Well, the first thing to think about is, what is that money for? So I think I mentioned before, the 3 questions you got to have clear before you make decisions is, who's it for, what's it for, and when's it for? If that is just an emergency fund, that's fine. If that's part of your wealth plan, a wealth creation plan, then you have essentially, as I was saying, you've retired your money.
So these I'm 65.
You don't look it.
I am about to retire, and I have no mortgage. I live relatively frugally, and I've got $1 million to invest. What should I do?
First of all, get proper advice on how to structure that.
Mm-hmm.
So first question you have to answer is, what is the income you need every year to maintain your lifestyle?
Mm-hmm.
If that is going to be what it's there for, you normally work on about a 4% a year drawdown. So that's $40,000 a year from a fund that'll continue to grow, net of no tax on that. So if you then go and put that in term deposit and you're going to get maybe 3.5, maybe if you're lucky, take tax and inflation off, you might have 20-odd thousand a year.
So from a $1 million managed fund, I could draw down an income of 40 grand a year.
Correct. And you could draw more. So depending on your situation, if you're trying to leave a legacy and leave a whole lot of money to kids, and that's part of your plan, if you don't have to leave it into kids, or the property is part of that inheritance you want to leave, then you could essentially draw more of that, because you're going to be healthier in the first portion of your retirement. There's nothing worse than when I visited a client in Cape Town where she had a huge portfolio, physically shattered, couldn't leave the high care facility.
So what use was the money?
Nothing.
What was the use?
Nothing.
Yeah, okay. I hear you. Guys, I'm getting quite, and to be honest, I'm getting such detailed questions now, and I don't want to sort of go over our boundaries. If people want advice, and clearly, can I just say the reaction we're getting here is that people really want to talk about this and figure out if they're doing the right thing. How do they get hold of you guys for a no obligation chat?
There's a little chat bot on our website, harnessfinancial.co.nz, and we'll call you straight back after you fill that out, or just contact it. Otherwise, you can email dita@harnessfinancial.co.nz, or your number is what?
021 0268 7955.
Say it again.
021 0268 7955. And just from the chat box, this is not an auto AI system. I actually monitor it and I respond to them.
Dita is the chat bot.
You are the chat bot. Oh. Guys, really good session. I said a lot of interest, and those figures.
Not enough interest, actually. That's the problem.
Not enough interest.
Term deposits, not enough interest.
Really good seeing you again. We'll have I think we've got 2 more sessions before the end of the year. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Your Money Matters with Sam and Dita from Harness Financial. To make the most out of your money, visit harnessfinancial.co.nz.